Look, just to start, I believe as a young girl, it was your grandfather that instigated a lot of your initial love for music. Tell us about those days.
He did. I was really fond of my grandfather. Well, still am, but as a little girl, I was very close to him, and he was an avid country western dancer. And so when I was young, he would take me out to honky tonks and teach me how to dance in two-step in the places that served food, where it was legal to have young children out there. So that was my first exposure to being out in bright lights and live music. Really was with him.
Do you remember your first guitar and your first attempts at songwriting?
I do. I got my first guitar, I think, when I was 15, and it was at the Folk Music Center in Claremont, California, and it was a birthday present, and I remember receiving it and kind of looking at it as a massive, almost intimidating foreign object, and slowly building a relationship with it and learning a few chords and then starting to sing. And for a long time, it was really something that I just played around with. I wasn't, very serious, but was deeply in love with music and was glad to have a guitar.
I believe 15 was the age you were at when you left home for the first time. Is that right?
I did. I ended up dropping out of the school system and traveling across America in a school bus, of all things, with that guitar.
And that was with a group of other artists?
Yeah, it was. It was kind of a nomadic traveling group of artists who were also real political activists. But to tell you the truth, I was very young, so I wasn't so much engaged in the political activism as much as I was in the idea that there was a different way to live life that I wasn't being exposed to in high school. And these people were intelligent and very driven and very creative, and so it was a different way to get educated. That's for certain.
So can you pinpoint a particular moment in time when you knew the type of music that you wanted to make, when your tastes were defined?
Well, it's hard to say. When I was really young, I definitely listened to bands. I mean, my folks had music in the house that had a lot of heavy harmonies, like the typical things, like the Beatles. And I remember wearing thin the Fleetwood Mac Rumours album when I was a child, and I would also listen to Edith Piaf, and I would listen to Judy Garland. So it was some music that was very popular, and some popular as in on the radio, and some music that was more to the taste of jazz. But I was really influenced by those records. There weren't a lot of them, but I faithfully wore them out.
Was there ever going to be a different career path for you, or you always headed towards music?
Well, actually, when I stopped traveling on the bus, I attempted to go back to school, and I went to a number of junior colleges. I think 6 of them, which is at least in the States, it's a way where you can go to a 2-year college before you go into and get some of your studying done before you hit the regular college. And so my interests at that time were theater arts and applied arts, and cultural anthropology, and mythology. And so I did kind of dabble in all of that, and I ended up, after high school, getting into doing fine art in glass and sculpture. But I always played music, but it wasn't until 2004 that I did this full time and decided that this was the only way that this was the only path I could sincerely devote myself to.
I believe you did a bit of busking in the early days too, is that right?
Yeah, yep.
So how much did that busking experience influence your stage manner today?
Good Lord, that's a good question. I think that street performing is probably one of the most difficult art forms out there, just because you're exposed to all elements, and you're exposed to people who are in the midst of going from one place to another. So, as opposed to an audience that's there to listen and to have an experience, so you somehow have to capture them while they're all in transit. So, I don't know exactly how it would have influenced exactly what I do today, but it did give me a huge appreciation for street performers, and it did kind of galvanize the whole understanding that if you're going to do something, you have to just be completely in it, because if you dabble in it on the street, it just you don't get paid any attention to at all, and that meant no tips, and that meant no gas.
Would you say you're a confident stage performer right from the beginning?
Yeah, well, I mean, I, in all honesty, I do suffer from a bit of stage fright prior to going on stage, but once I get in the element and I know that my sound is in place, then I'm just fine. So I have a little bit of the EBGBs perhaps before the whole thing starts, but once I'm in the pocket, then I do feel really comfortable. I feel like when I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, so perhaps there's an inherent confidence, not arrogance, but confidence in that, which then allows me to deliver the best possible music that I can at that time.
So outside of the United States there, where has most interest been generated in your music?
Well, that's interesting because I don't really know. I mean, I'm from California. I'm a fourth generation Californian, but since 2004, I've been traveling the world and have been kind of cultivating audiences all over the place. And some places are more established than others. Like, I can't say that great things are happening in Idaho, but but I can say there's great things happening in most of the main markets in America, and then some really interesting things happening overseas as well, and places I wasn't expecting, actually.
You keep a pretty heavy touring schedule. Do you find time to write while you're on the road, or is that something that has to wait till you're back at home base?
Yeah, it has to wait till I'm home. I would love to be able to be in a position where I could travel and write, but I find that there's so much attention and time that's needed to be, that just is absorbed with getting to where I'm going, or then performing there, or then sleeping, or then getting up and getting to where I'm going, that to actually sit down and concentrate and find a place where I can cultivate a stillness around me that would lead me to write is just is really difficult. So I do that when I'm home, or at least when I'm in one place for a while where I can kind of shut the door.
You've been able to surround yourself with some wonderful musicians to record your music with. What do you look for in musicians to make them the type that you would like to work with?
Well, in all honesty, I think I look for people who I find are speaking through their instrument something that connects with me. I mean, and that has been hit and miss. I mean, when I started touring, I played with a number of musicians, and in the beginning it was actually predominantly a lot of guesswork. But as I honed my skills in terms of finding people that really resonated with the sounds that I was making, and that I felt was complementary and kind of, in a sense, communicating with the music that I was making, so it was more of a conversation than filigree. That ended up starting to become the places where I was most interested, and that became the places where I would seek those folks out.
Yeah. I was last night reading through some reviews of your work, particularly of the Promise album, and I noticed one reviewer described your restless spirit and suggesting you might get a little antsy if you're in one place for too long. Is there any truth in that?
Yes, there is. There is. I would have to say that it seems to me that people are perhaps either born with a bit of a undeniable nomadic streak, or they're not. And each, I mean, Lord knows there's been plenty of times that I wish that I wasn't. But that nomadic streak, it showed up. It showed up very, very young in me. And fortunately, being in this line of work and attempting to get the music out to as many interesting places as I can. It's required.
Yeah. So, do you think that instinct applies to your music as well? If you get a little restless if you start playing in the one style for too long?
In the one style, right?
Yeah.
Well, initially that happened. Initially I went through a number of phases with the first, particularly with the second record. I got really interested in bluegrass and kind of high octane music in that sense, with big bands and a lot of fast picking and a lot of fast songs. And while I thought I was definitely headed towards remaining in that bluegrass camp, I found that after I'd kind of saturated myself, and I still love the music, but what I really wanted to do was move on and find a place where the voice could express itself, as opposed to dashing mandolins and gallivanting dobros. And I do love that, but I'm finding that at this point that's not the music that I'm gravitating towards creating.
You trekked away to a remote location in a cabin to record The Promise. How important is it for you to be in the right environment for recording? Can the environment and your surroundings influence the sound of the recording for you?
Absolutely. That was a huge move to do that. We did rent a cabin in a really remote place in Canada to record The Promise, and the stillness was just landed itself into the intimacy of those songs and how the players played, and definitely my performance on the vocals and guitar. So I strive for that. Now, at the same time, I have recorded and actually just finished tracking a record at Skywalker Ranch in California, and that was inside a huge room, but nonetheless the intimacy was still created. The lights were dimmed, and it still felt as though I was in a kind of small and intimate space that would allow me to pull from the place where I felt the lyrics kind of could make their statement.
I loved your arrangement of Everybody's Talking on that album.
Thank you.
How do you go about taking on a song like that that's so well known already to so many people and has been covered so many times before, and still make it sound fresh?
That was a challenge, because that song is iconic in that way. But at the same time, when I heard the lyrics and really digested the lyrics to that song, and decided that I wanted to record it in a way where the lyrics were so soft and subtle that there was no way to get around exactly what was being said. And so I just thought doing it in a very, very broken down, intimate kind of way might be able to do that. And thanks for the compliment. I don't know, it's just such a beautifully written song about being in the middle of everybody and kind of intrinsically feeling alone.
Yeah, it's a timeless song, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a fantastic song, and the lyrics are great, and I feel like it became such a huge pop song, and I had heard it as such a huge song that I had never taken in the lyrics, to tell you the truth. And so once I did take in the lyrics, I was thinking, wow, maybe there's a way to retell this so that what was actually being said could be heard fresh once again.
Now, you've been working extensively with Kelly Jo Phelps recently. How did you first come in contact with Kelly Jo?
Well, Kelly and I have been touring kind of the same places. He's been touring quite a bit longer than I have, but nonetheless, I would see his poster, kind of where I was going into a venue or out of a venue, and we had crossed paths a number of times on tour. And there was a show in Georgia where we shared a bill, and I just listened to his music and just thought, man, that would be so fantastic to see if we could come up with something together. But he was definitely a lone player and always has been. And then 2 years ago, we got the opportunity to play some music together, and were astounded by what we heard, both vocally and by the way that our guitars were interweaving. And once that music hit us, we decided that we had potentially found one instrument in two bodies, and that the only way to see what music could be created out of that was to take a huge turn in both of our careers and focus specifically on that. And for the last 2 years, that's exactly what we've done.
And do you think you're coming out of it a better musician yourself?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I think that he's been playing guitar for 40 years, I think. And he's just an amazingly diverse and articulate and soulful musician all the way around, and particularly on guitar. I have learned a lot from him, and am thankful for it.
Yeah, from the visual evidence I've seen online, you have a great rapport together on stage too.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we've been working hard. We actually, like I was saying, we just got done tracking our second album together, and this particular album is co-written, which wasn't the case with the first record, Magnetic Skyline, but this one is all co-written for our voices and for our instruments. So it's a whole new, it's where we wanted to get to when we first started out, but it took 2 years to get there.
Wonderful. And this is actually a full-length album this time?
Yeah, it is a full-length album. The one that you have, Magnetic Skyline, there's two versions of that out. There's an EP, and that was, again, recorded at Skywalker Ranch. And then there's another version of that out that had 2 tracks added on from live radio in Holland. So it kind of rather ended up as a full-length recording, but this one is start and stop full-length record from the studio.
Oh, fantastic. Because that was my only complaint about the EP. It was too short.
Yeah, I felt that way too, but we were like, damn it, we actually recorded the record in one day. So it's like, okay, it's been 6.5 hours. This is all we got. So we just did that and put it out. But this time we'll have a full-length record for you.
Oh, that's wonderful. So what's the structure of your live shows? You do both do material from your solo output as well and combine with work from the EP?
Actually, what we've been doing is weeding out. I mean, Kelly, let's put it this way. Kelly decided when we started working together that he didn't want to do any of his back catalog material. And he wanted to just start fresh with what this was. So we did a couple of his songs initially, but then weeded them out. And we've done more of my songs initially and then weeded them out. And then the more that we write together, the more that we take things that we had created before we came together, and kind of put them aside. And the reason for that is not that the songs are substandard that we were doing independently, as much as it is that when we write something that is composed to highlight and to kind of caress this particular sound, anything that we've done that we've kind of brought in from the past ends up not making as much sense. So most of the music now that we're performing is co-written.
Fantastic. And you're about 7 or 8 years into your own recording career now. Where do you think far ahead? Where do you think you'd like to be in another 7 or 8 years' time? Well,
that's a good question. I think that probably the essence of it is just to continue to follow the path of creating music that seems true to me, of creating music that I feel is hopefully contributing to something that is positive in one sense or another. But in terms of how that looks and how that ends up manifesting is a question that neither you or I will be able to answer right now.
Hey, Corinne, fantastic. Thanks for taking time out. It's been a pleasure to catch up with you.
Absolutely, John. Thank you so much for giving us a call.
And we look forward to the next album with Kelly, and hopefully maybe we can get your band down here to do some shows for us. We'd love to see you.
Yeah, we would love that. I know that Kelly's toured in Australia quite a bit, and I have yet to make it over. So that one is on the books, and we look forward to it.
We'll be here waiting for you.
Okay, take care.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much.
All the best. Bye-bye.
Bye.